This I talk about ADHD Central. I think this is it.
Heston, thank you so much for doing this. You are an absolute inspiration to many, but especially to those in the ADHD community. In particular, for those who get diagnosed later in life, we know of people who go to their GP and get refused assessments because they've managed to hold down a job or got a qualification. And when you got assessed, you had 3 Michelin stars, and even more that your pioneering restaurant, the Fat Duck, had been voted best on the planet.
Oh, and an OBE.
Oh no, we're getting there. Don't worry. Many with ADHD will talk about their love of diversions being a blessing in the interest it creates and a curse in that it is away from what they meant to do. Your questioning attitude has led you to mix science and creativity that meant you seared fish with liquid nitrogen before sauteing it and invented triple cooked chips. You created
umbrellas spraying chocolate as well, dwarfs sliding down the liquid nitrogen chocolate fountain and sending potatoes to space. Apparently.
I don't know that you created the science concept of food pairing, that the science of the different flavors that go together, that led you serving white chocolate and caviar, as well as bacon and egg ice cream. You've got honorary degrees from Reading, Bristol, and London. You're a fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry, the first chef ever. You're an OBE awarded by our dear late Queen in 2006. In 2016, you were granted a personal coat of arms and chose the wonderful motto of question everything. I think people know you're amazing, but many don't know your journey, that you left school with 1 A-level, but a love of cooking, that you persuaded Raymond Blanc at Le Manoir Quatre Saisons to give you a trial based on nothing but your enthusiasm. And after a week, you were offered an apprenticeship, the doorway to fine dining opened to you, and you walked away, spending 10 years working a range of non-chef day jobs, building your cooking skills and knowledge at night, learning at home on your own, a personal apprenticeship of skills and experimentation, running to share with your wife your near-perfect 3 creme brulee recipes, the 3 final ones you worked up to, waking her up and then realizing it was 2 a.m., selling your home to buy the rundown pub in Bray that became the Fat Duck, to have posh locals come up to you and say, we've had 3 owners in 5 years, we've closed them down, and we'll close you down too. Putting such effort and hours in that the exhaustion had you trying to light a brulee torch under the hot tub and crashed asleep on dirty restaurant linen. You are the absolute evidence that you can have ADHD and achieve extraordinary things. And that is inspirational. And not only that, you did it without knowing you had ADHD, getting a diagnosis later.
Self-diagnosis.
Okay, and then I think you had a formal one later with the Harley Street. And
what I mean is, I was questioning myself when you said question everything. Question mark, question everything and everything. So there's question the whole universe and everything in the universe. I have a sweaty head. Well, I had a very sweaty head.
Before we're about to go, I'm about to ask you this question, so I feel like I'm a terrible interviewer. You're definitely supposed to wait for the other person to speak.
Maybe this is a leitmotif for ADHD interview structures.
Honestly, and also your interviewer shouldn't have a preference for butting in. That's definitely not a characteristic that you're supposed to have. Anyway, right, I'm going to get to my first question if it kills me. So let's start with the first question. What the fuck? How the fucking fuck did you achieve that while having ADHD? You're extraordinary. Okay, now let's ask that a bit more formally. Like, people really want to know your ADHD story. Can you tell us your ADHD story from when you first had an inkling that you had ADHD and now?
I was going to ask you, is it okay to swear? But actually, it's okay for ADHD. So fucking hell, I can say whatever the fucking cunting word I want to say. And as opposed to sending an email saying, I hope this email finds you well in these terribly horrible pandemic circumstances, and hope you well. Regards, best wishes. Blah, 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 blah. No, swear words can be really wonderful. So there's my preface and my
your ADHD story.
Yeah, my journey to ADHD actually came through food. And I'm going to try and do noun attack, which helps. Just like it's like joining dots. So go back to my childhood, and I've reversed back to almost birth because of my memory. Grew up London, 70s, shit food in England, in Britain. Olive oil was only in pharmacy for block teas. You could buy a supermarket, one type of pasta, spaghetti, blue packets, Cornwall holiday. And then 15 or so went to France with parents and sister, and went to a 3 Michelin star restaurant. Dad did well. He had a leasing business, but we lived in a basement flat, one windowed basement flat in a very expensive road. But it was basically the caretaker's flat off Hyde Park, and so this contrast of I never ate an oyster. I didn't know what a lobster was. Caviar didn't exist in my mind. Michelin stars, it didn't exist. I knew nothing about any of this world. It was fish and chips for me. And my mum was cooking, which was like, I enjoyed coronation chicken and the avocado stone in the glass jar that never really did anything, but it was, sign of hope, I suppose. And then we go to France. And instead of Cornwall, we go to France. And we drive down to the south of the Camargue. And on the way, my dad read about this restaurant called the Oster de Beauharnais. There's something very special about this place. So I'm sitting at this restaurant outside. I was smaller and I was looking up, and they were pouring sauces into souffles and carving legs of lamb at the table, and the noise of the crickets at the sunset. I remember the feet crunching on the gravel, the smell of the lavender, the running water, and the chink of the glasses, and the soft sound of the language around me, or the tonality of voice. It's like I kind of looked up because I was smaller then. I looked up but fell down a rabbit hole at the same time. And that fell down a rabbit hole. I thought it was cooking. And I fell down something. I thought this went into my blood, under my skin, in my veins. And I didn't have, no, we always have a choice. I didn't have a choice. It was something I discovered that every human being can do. The more we try different things, as opposed to telling ourselves we've got to go for a fucking walk in the woods, or I got the best dentist or yoga teacher, or I'm going to eat wilted fucking spirulina and don't eat sugar and don't smoke. Try. And if something presses your button, triggers your fancy or whatever, if it happens, then okay, I'll have another go. And you might end up to a point where you think, oh, I'm not really liking this anymore. Then it's okay to change. In the hind's head, pub in Bray, over the fireplace, 300 odd years old. There's in gold leaf, there's a sentence which is so powerful. I walked past it thousands of times, but it took me a long time to actually digest it. Fear knocked on the door, faith answered, and no one was there. When a belief becomes stronger than a fear, we need fear. Because fear is like being diagnosed with ADHD, has the potential to celebrate and grow, or the potential to succumb or surrender to it. We're the superstars that will be the last people to be replaced by computers. Here's my ramble.
That's a wonderful ramble, and that quote is seriously important. When did you first hear about ADHD?
He said to me, I think you might have ADHD. And I said, I haven't told this to publicly and to anyone. But he said that you might have ADHD. And I thought, how can I have ADHD when I focused so much? Because with ADHD, you forgetful. How can I have ADHD when I focused so much on what I've done? He said it's classic ADHD. If you find something that you love or connect with, you're hyper focused on it. Otherwise, you're just not interested. There are too many other things to do. So it's like a trombone zoom. You zoom in and hyper focus. If you find the trigger, the little fire, then you're off and running. If you try and fit in to do what everyone else does, then you kind of imprison yourself. So I then went through my doctor and said, I would like to see if I've got ADHD. I went to this, recommended to this doctor in Harley Street, and multiple test questionnaire. Tick these boxes, and I think 20 is the tipping point. I was like something like six between 58 and 70, somewhere between there, which I think is one of the highest recorded. And subsequent, I thought, oh, I've got ADHD. Then I started to research about it. I had brain scans and various brain scans and the activity in business of my brain. So I looked into that and I tested myself. I tested my brain. I tested my body from the medical perspective. And my diagnosis was magical for me because it started to make sense of who I am as opposed to of who I'm not. And I then felt less judged by others and the ability to be able, and this wasn't overnight, to actually consider the potential that I'm actually a pretty fucking magical human being. Like everyone has that potential. So that ADHD diagnosis, so you said to me, and like this was really profound when you said this when last time we met in London. The diagnosis is the potential for superhero or doom and gloom. The diagnosis, the response to the diagnosis. So I think that the diagnosis of the ADHD category is really, really potentially magnificent.
What was it when you first got that diagnosis, that formal diagnosis of you've got ADHD? How did that make you feel?
I wasn't I wasn't sure. I mean, it took me a while to research. They gave me Adderall, and the doctor said to me, it's like, he said, your serotonin levels are so high. They're so high. Imagine if you were you're in your house, the roof opens and somebody throws all your favorite food for the week down, and you catch as much of it as you can, and the rest of it falls through the gutter or floor. You've got this, you've got it, and you eat it all in a day or 2 days. Then for the next week, you've got nothing. And that's what happens with the serotonin and the hormones. We're all wired differently. So my normality is the opposite from a lot of people's normality. It's not better or worse. So that's why they gave Ritalin and Adderall and all these things where the taking, say, of cocaine to actually relax seems really weird. But the doctor said to me, your serotonin levels, when you don't take anything, your serotonin levels are off the roof. Over the years, what I've discovered is, it's taken a while, there's many other things I can do. I just do things that I love doing and celebrate the beauty of my imagination.
You've used exercise hugely.
Massively used exercise. I mean, 4 hours a day. I had the world sit-up record. I 100K a week running. Do 5,000 sit-ups a day. It was just relentless.
See, something you told me that you did a big amount of exercise in the morning before lunch service, and then another big bout in the afternoon.
Yeah, sometimes 3 times a day. So I would do maybe an hour to 2 hours in the morning, and at lunchtime I'd do another hour, and then in the evening I'd do another hour. But I was
and then that's still working. So people with ADHD use exercise to help calm their brain to focus on what they need to do. Do you feel like you were doing that?
Yes, on reflection, yes. And even now, in my ripe old age.
So I wanted to ask this because it has kind of blown my mind. You talked about when at the start of the Fat Duck, you did all the finances. You would order everything. You had like
every week, but I did it not on computer, paper. I had printed sheets. I did all the invoices, the order sheets. There was a system. Let's say you'd order a box of wine. So in the office, which has a plywood sort of surface with a print on it, I would then write the thing, put the order in to the wine company on paper. It would go through a fax or I think it was, and then they would come back and confirm the order. So with that confirmation, when the delivery arrives at the door, they would have the delivery note with the piece of paper that I ordered. I would match the piece of paper with the delivery note. I would check the bottles. They would sign it. So that was done. And then that would go and wait for the invoice. To me, that's really frigging clear. Now, oh my God.
But what I think is particularly interesting about it, is that what you created was a visual system that had a simplicity to it. And I think a lot of ADHD people, right, like if they can't see it, it doesn't exist. Like having a very visual system that allows them to.
If you're with somebody and then their idea of tidying up is just to move all the objects to another place. Holy shit. At least I can think, where did I put that? When someone else moves it, it's tidying up. What do you mean? Tidying up is fucking hiding. I'm going to hide it. I'm going to put it there. Oh, it's in the other room. It's like the scissors. Oh, they're in the end of the fucking garden. And I just want to know, this is here. Just keep the fucking place. Then I can be in flow. Oh, no, it's over there. It's in that cupboard. And then they might say, where's the bloody blah? Oh, over there. Well, where is over there? Where's over there? It's just saying it's in the top drawer on the left next to the so-and-so. I get that. It's over there. What the hell? And
I am printing up. I slightly summarize that. Other people tidying things is them hiding things. I love it. So something I wanted to ask, like ADHD and the intensity of life, like a number of people talk about the hyperfocus of ADHD, but leading to burnout. How do you avoid burnout?
Oh, that's a fucking interesting question, and nobody has asked me that. I don't know, and at the same time, embracing the fact that I don't know is another opportunity to learn and question more about myself. I do know that of all the bones I've broken and all the health checks I've had, the brain scans, I've had my liver, my lungs, my heart, my blood pressure, my cholesterol levels, my MRI, tested. I've got pages of this. So I've not shied away from looking at myself. And it seems to me that, and you could say, I think I have a relatively extreme level of physical pain threshold.
I want to share with you some of what Michael Phelps's, like his story.
Yeah.
And this is from his mum. And if I'm completely honest at the end, then it slightly made me cry. It did make me cry when I first read it. Like,
No, I've had dinner with Michael.
Oh, have you? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we've touched on this.
So teachers complained Michael couldn't stay quiet at quiet time. Michael couldn't sit at circle time. Michael didn't keep his hands to himself. Michael was giggling and laughing and nudging kids for attention. And his kindergarten said, Michael can't sit still, can't be quiet, can't focus. At elementary, your son will never be able to focus on anything. Age 9, diagnosed with ADHD. Age 10, Phelps's family are a swimming family. His older sister, Whitney, at 15, was ranked first in the country for 200-meter butterfly. And though her career was cut short by back injury, and by 10, Michael was ranked nationally at his age group. And Mrs. Phelps watched the boy who couldn't sit still at school sit for 4 hours at a meet waiting to swim his 5 minutes worth of races.
Yeah. Achieved, and it also drove him on. But at the same time, then people then have less. Where do I go now? I'm gonna find something else to criticize him about. Something else.
He's the most successful Olympian of the modern age.
Yeah, same thing. I have a look at myself. I did not realize that I was trying to prove to the world that I was not mentally handicapped or whatever the branding is. And I'm concerned about Heston. I'm concerned about Heston. Really? So I try harder and harder. And what happened, I didn't realize this, and I realize it now more, that I put fuel not only into codependency from the outside in, but I put fuel into my own drive. So there's this interesting payoff now, and it's easy. It would be understandable for people to listen to me saying this and say, well, it's okay for you, Heston. You're a celebrity, best chef, best book, best world record, doctorate, Royal Society Games, OBE, coat of arms, blah, blah, blah. It's okay for you to say that. But in fact, these are just titles. It's like a CV. And how many people with ADHD, when they're diagnosed as ADHD with a problem, you could argue that maybe actually that adversity gives the opportunity to achieve. But also it gives the opportunity to want to commit suicide, to go into, to overconsume things the consummation of sugar or alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or shopping or whatever you want to call it. There's this want and need theory, which makes sense to me. If you need something to keep something at bay, then that something that you keep at bay is going to inflame and come out sideways. And we all do that. All of us do that sometimes. If you do something because you actually want to do it, then that's different. And there's always a payoff between the two, and it's very complex. But if ADHD is automatically considered from the moment you can listen, that you are a problem to society and you don't fit into the world and you can't sit still. Like Ken Robinson's talk, there are people that have to move to think, and it's like looking away. There's times when I have a conversation, I look away. And they go, oh, look at me, look at me. What do you mean fucking look at you? I'm engaged so much. I want to look at a flat surface that doesn't move, that doesn't have a pattern. I can just listen to you without distraction. But why do you think that by looking at you, I'm listening? Or why do you think that if I get up and walk around, I'm ignoring you because I'm not sitting and listening? People that have to move to think or benefit from moving to think at times.
Do you still feel that you have to, like, that you said just now that you're driven by a need to prove yourself? Do you still feel the need, that is that still burning in you despite every extraordinary things you've achieved?
Okay, no, but I think there's something about a human, a living thing, which could be a plant, a basil leaf, it could be a cloud, it could be a dog, it could be of feeling connected. And some of that is wanting to give pleasure to others and vice versa, reflective, wanting to feel part of a community, wanting to feel connected. So that want and need thing, I realized how much I did it before, but also I benefited from it. I've never felt more fulfilled, using a word, in my life than now.
That's wonderful. It's where we all want to be. On the Michael Phelps story, the author finished with the moral of the story, which offers hope for parents of any child with a challenge like ADHD. Too many adults looked at Mrs. Phelps' boy and saw what he couldn't do. This week, the world will tune into the Olympics to see what he can do. What, like, when you hear that, like, what would you say to a parent who's just been told their kid has ADHD?
ADHD are letters and they're words. And language can be a beautiful thing in a song, in a fairy tale, in a story, in a metaphor. But when we grow up learning words, we then categorize our emotions by words. And we internally categorize them by words and language. And that finger pointing takes away from the loving potential of celebrating ourselves as unique, sacred, imaginative beings.
I have a sort of favorite question, which I always try and ask. What impact of your ADHD has made you saddest? And what impact of your ADHD has made you happiest?
I'll slightly reword that question because I can.
Yeah, you can. I didn't know you were going into politics.
I've had moments. I know I'm now saying this to you and to people listening. I only said it to Melanie a couple of nights ago. I had moments, and not too long ago, that it's like the Queen song, in Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't want to die, but sometimes I wished I was never born at all. So I've had moments where I've looked out the window and I think, I know it's beautiful out there, but I'm like imprisoned in something. I have no compass. I've lost my compass. And if there was a gun, if I had a gun, I might have used it just to finish. That's not the same as wanting a rope or not. No, it would be a simple thing to do. If it was there, I don't know. But I remember lying on the sofa. I was lost. I was so lost. I look back at it now. Everywhere I looked, enough was never enough. Enough was never enough. Where do I go? What do I do? And when I look back at that, it's also a precious memory to say, I'm not only am I still here, but my life has never been so precious as it is now. And having that feeling, so that's the sort of answer to your question. Rather than moments, it's how I felt with myself. And I got lost. I was lost. It wasn't, I want to kill myself. I just thought, I can't go anywhere. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. No compass, no direction, because everywhere I turned, everything I did, still people thought, well, there must be something wrong with Heston. And then thinking, well, I've got all these awards and my CV is ridiculous. I've achieved. It's never enough. But it was because when I started to take responsibility for my feelings, so nobody makes anyone feel angry, happy, sad. They can do, but if we have that perspective, then we then blame and point fingers. Let's say religion has the potential for being positive, for all sorts of things, positive, negative. We think that if we're a good citizen on this planet and we go to school and we get our degrees and we get the money and we have a pension and we have a family, we have a house and we have bricks and mortar and we do this and we do that and we eat wilted spirulina and we go for a walk in the woods and we meditate and we have a good dentist and all that stuff, we're going to be a good citizen, because at the end of our life, we're then going to go to some place called heaven. Now, what about embracing the possibility that we're actually living in our own heaven and we're just fucking it up without being aware?
I do actually sometimes think about how people live in their own heavens or hells in earth, and actually how much mental health can define that for people, and
it's the pandemic.
as well as many other things. But like I actually do reflect on it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you felt how you felt.
Yeah, but thank you for that. But now that's precious, that memory, and being able to share it now. Never said that to anybody like that. And I'm starting to cry. But my tears, they're not sad. Getting that out now has been not an easy thing. I wasn't aware that I was harboring that as much as I was. Realizing it, getting it out, I wouldn't have changed that for the world, because I'm still here and I'm just fucking beginning. And it's wonderful. There was adversity, let's say, and I faced it and I earned my reward. Thanks to me. I'm not only still standing, but I'm fighting fit. And every minute, the amount of moments and breaths in my day where I think, oh my God, how beautiful is life? How beautiful. But maybe having not gone through those moments, and then how much work did I do to follow my belief and be in this position where my life has never felt this precious and felt this potential and felt this fulfilled, and whatever word you want to call it. And so, if I'm in a position, I think, to be able to understand what it feels like to be in that position. And that also gives me another superhero strength. but I give myself another superhero strength. So it's really cool. I mean, it's not. It's
No,
really, really cool.
it is really cool. It's an important thing, and I think where you're at now is wonderful. And I'm genuinely so pleased to hear it, even if I can't really say it. Like, I think that was saddest. That was sad. Can you think of an impact of ADHD that's made you happy?
Oh, shitloads. Dot joining, the creativity, imagination, and finding connections that other people, lots of people, don't seem to find. And it could be an umbrella with dog hair, some sweet corn, a cushion, and my left foot, for example. Oh, got an idea for that. Poof, 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 poof. And these things are here. Just join the dots. Instead of joining the dots in a linear way, you join them in a non-linear way. So maybe the connection between music or sound and smell. And poof, 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 poof. And now it's gone ballistically berserk to the point where there's times where, okay, I've got to just bring it back, Heston. Focus, focus, focus. Although I don't want to, focus on a linear time meeting and whatever. But meanwhile, I'll see an object, have a thought, have a memory, see another object randomly, and then put them together and come up with a new concept. And that is so precious. I would not change that for anything.
Talking of those thoughts, that challenge of bringing things together. We talked about time and keeping to it, and the distractions that prevent you from. And you talked about your ADHD. You said, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's made me realize things about my behavior. I take my lateness. I don't like being late. I don't sit there going, I don't need to go yet. What happens is I go, we have to leave. I must get my phone. Oh, hang on, let me send an email. I start typing one, that's another. It's the D. Oh my God, I need my duffel coat to go upstairs. Then I come down, whole lot of things I can't remember what I went out for. I found a watch I lost a year ago. And that's how it happens. Now, you're also the person who can bring together a collection of ingredients, all prepared and cooked individually and brought together, perfectly timed and perfectly cooked to one singular moment of gastronomic perfection on a plate. To do that perfection again and again and again, but also be the person who gets lost looking for his duffel coat. How do you explain being both of those people, and how does it feel being both of those people?
I don't know. When I want to do it and I'm in flow, then down to the millisecond, I can tell how much time. Then there's other moments where I try and do it and then I feel guilty and I don't want to do it. So I can flip from one to the other, but when I try and force into the other thing, then it becomes more frustrating.
When you talked about those being those two different people, it looks like what it looks to me is like when you're cooking, you are in flow, you are in hyper focus, and that is you using your ADHD to be extraordinary. And getting the duffel coat is that when you're not in flow, it's the other side of ADHD.
Yes.
It's getting.
Yes. And what I do is I put objects in places where the object was like a to-do list, and I'll move it to another place and I'll put it there, and Melanie will know. So she won't move it because I try to put it there for a reason. And if she thinks it might move, she'll ask me, she says, look, shall I put this over here? Great. That makes absolute sense to me. And in the kitchen, when in flow, it's like my limb is like an octopus. Things move out my body and drawers open and shut but if something's out of place, it's like throwing a twig in a bicycle wheel, and then the same incredible flow goes into total and utter chaos. Being able to laugh at oneself in toe-curling ways, that laughter is absolutely magical. And I've done enough things in my life that I think it would be a criminal offense not to take the piss out of me, to recall memories that I've forgotten about, that my toes feel like, oh, I cannot believe, and I thought they were so normal at the time. That laughter is possibly, in terms of words and emotions and triggers on the vagus nerve and stuff, genuine laughter, everything else stops. And being able to laugh at yourself instead of burying stuff, you laugh at it, take something that you might think negative and take the piss out of it. Laugh at it, then it becomes something complete. You then turn something into something precious. And that could be, when people think, oh, this is just, I've got to live with this. Isn't my life miserable? If you laugh at it and you can share it with other people that also understand a bit, as opposed to they're there, oh, I'm so sad about that, and I'm so, laugh at it and share those experiences. That, I think, is really, really, really precious and one of the most important things.
And we've had some of those moments today, but the one that of laughter stopping everything was when you said tidying it up is other people hiding things. I nearly fell off my chair.
Yes, from their perspective, they're tidying up.
I know, but they're not. They're hiding things.
They're fucking hiding, and they're actually creating misery. They're creating a whole planet of frustration and chaos. And then after that, they go, "Oh, you're late. We need to leave now." Well, I'm trying to find this. And
you've been wonderful to overstay and be late for the thing you've got to go to. This has been incredible and important, and I really thank you.